Hey guys, Tisha here. This reunion got on my nerves. Like, truly got on my nerves. A bunch of women talking over each other is not my idea of a good time. But I'm here and I'm going to review it. And I'm going to tell you now that some things may skip around. I may be jumping all over the place. I may leave some things out because some things to me, it was just like, that's redundant. I'm not going to keep talking about that. We've already seen enough of that. Other things I may be on for a little bit because I don't understand how Bravo continues to drop the ball. So we see the ladies coming in their many different hues of, I don't know if you would consider that to be aqua or a blue or a teal, something in that family. And I'll be honest, the looks look better to me on TV than they did in the pictures that we saw. Out of all of the dresses, the two that I did not really care for were Kenya's dress because it was too much going on, and I didn't like Marlo's dress because I felt like it was way too much fabric. Didn't like whatever that fur looking thing was around the trim. I've seen Marlo do better. And to me, that wasn't like, Marlo looked better at Candy's peach party than she did at this reunion, to me. We find out that Ralph is still living in the same house with Drew because I feel like they're both squatters and neither one of them wants to give up that house. So while the divorce is going on, they're going to be in the same house. So all of this stuff that he's been doing with Courtney has been while Drew and Ralph are still residing in the same household. Think about that, you guys. Can you imagine seeing all the things that are going on in the internet, being Drew now, who's seen these different interviews that Courtney has done and the things that Ralph has said, and they're still in the same house together? It couldn't be me. I understand why she's staying. I understand she doesn't want to uproot her children and all of that, but it just, to me, seems like it would be a toxic environment. We start with Sheree and Bob's daughter. Sheree doesn't care about Bob having a daughter because the daughter was before her and they are divorced. She also points out that Bob didn't do a DNA test, so do we even know if that's really Bob's biological daughter? She confirmed that the kids have been around her because it doesn't matter. I said it, I believe it was last review or maybe the review before, that if I found out in my adult age that my parent had another child, I would tell my parent. Heck, when my bonus mom was pregnant and I was 10, I told my mom. I mean, to me, I don't understand why this is even a thing. Annie brings up the picture of Sheree and shows how there people are saying that she looked like Drew. And she did look like Drew in that picture. And Sheree said that's an insult to Drew because that was a bad picture of Sheree. That was one of her worst pictures. So she should take Candy saying that as an insult. And I just find it funny how Andy had to bring up that Candy said it on Speak On It. Candy said it. So you reference her Speak On It for that, but you don't reference her Speak On It for other things that you could have used in this show as proof of certain things. But okay, we're gonna keep going with this. Yeah, I just show what the internet said. Candy was not the only person who said that. Everybody was saying that she looked like her, and she did. I would like to know, Andy, what did you think? We then talk about Martell. Sheree says that she is no longer with Martell. She pulled back from all his mess. She likes him, but she loves herself more. Andy, you dropped the ball on this, which shows me that either you all prefer Sheree, or you don't want to give any type of promotion to Carlos King and the OWN network, because there is so much information that has come out about Martell that you didn't even have to use any clips from OWN. You could have just went on the internet and pulled stuff that he's recorded himself, or that his wife has recorded, or that other bloggers have reported, and used that as a way to show that Martell is full of crap. Like, why is it that none of this stuff has come up? You show all these other tweets and things that people are saying in regards to questions about certain cast members, but you don't show that in regards to Sheree. While Andy's talking, Kenya brought up the revenge porn, and Andy seemed confused as to what Kenya was talking about. And Kenya was like, there's allegations of him trying to blackmail, basically, his ex-wife and release porn. And you could have pulled those tweets up. Kenya seems to know more about the situation than Bravo and their producers, which is insane to me. The DM situation comes back up again. I don't care. Kenya doesn't feel like she needed to tell it to Sheree until she did. And Kenya, I'm going to be honest. As soon as you found out that Sheree was with Martell, you should have brought it up. Even though it wouldn't have made a difference either way. But if you would have said, like, here, just to let you know, this is this and yada, yada, yo, you would have been able to not be seen like you were just trying to start something. You look like you were trying to start something because the way that you told the information when you decided to tell it, it's like Marlo said, it was at the wrong time. Kenya is then asked about her divorce, and we find out that additional claims have been made by Mark. One being that she put Brooklyn in harm's way. He used as an example that Marlo kicked the hotel room. She did. Marlo says that she felt awful when she heard about it, and she apologizes. Yet, Marlo, you didn't call her. And Kenya brought that up. I'm not saying that I don't feel like Marlo is somewhat apologetic. I just don't feel like it's genuine. Because why do you wait until now to apologize when as soon as you saw it online, you could have apologized? Kenya presents a blank subpoena to Andy, and Andy points out that it's blank, that there's no name. Kenya, that fell flat. That segment was so cringy. If you truly did a subpoena, which I think she released something on Twitter showing it, but if you truly did a subpoena on Marlo, what would have really gotten her is if you would have printed out the right paper and or had it served by someone else. Never mind. I was going to say while filming was going on, but this happened after filming. You should have just had your right paperwork. Y'all, I'm sorry. This is just, ugh. She said that during Discovery, she found out that Marlo was texting Mark to get information about Kenya. Marlo denies this. They go back and forth for a little bit. Annie brings back up Sheree's birthday and her interesting relationship with Bills. Even Andy kind of knows that there's something awkward there because he said your interesting relationship with Bills. Rather than just giving her facts or whatever, she brings up Candy and Drew and says that they're the only people who say that. And then it creates this back and forth with her and Candy. Candy brings up her swollen face and Sheree brings up Candy's body. I don't understand why this was even a thing because Candy's body is banging. I would love to have Candy's body. Sheree's body is banging too. The back and forth is unnecessary. As proof that she didn't do anything, Sheree brought one of her many props out, and it's a comment from the woman who did her fashion show, saying that the gentleman was paid from a third party. But we've seen online that the gentleman refuted what was said, that he was not paid for those fashions, which that's why they still haven't been released. He doesn't seem to want to sue her, and that's the only reason why I feel like he's getting away with it. And it might just be because he doesn't feel like it's worth it. Sheree created a newspaper, Sheree's Corner or something. I can't remember. She created something. And it was a whole bunch of different stuff on it about Candy's restaurant for the first couple pages, and then something else about Tagged. So she is deliberately going after Candy. This is not comical to me. The ladies thought it was funny, but it's interesting that you keep saying that Candy is all up in your business, yet you took the time to research these things, look them up. Either yourself or your assistants or whomever created this paper. But Candy is all in your business. She points out that Candy has some Shein fashions too. Candy says that, you know, they basically all do, but the difference is she is not trying to present these fashions as her own, that she has a boutique. Whereas Sheree is trying to make it seem as if it's something she created, when the things that she created with the fashion designer have not been put on her website. Candy says her business has been around for 14 years with no closure. So basically, the profit that Sheree later tells us that she still has not made, because normally it takes a business 2 years to make any form of profit, Candy has been able to get. Meanwhile, Sheree has been working on her fashions for over 10 years. Sheree isn't making a profit because Sheree still owes people money. Sheree isn't making a profit because Sheree has had several fashion designers. Because if I recall correctly, in earlier seasons when she did that fashion line that she had started, she had used one of the designers from Bravo, and she fell out with him. Not Bravo, Project Runway. And she fell out with him. So, Sheree, you're the problem. It doesn't take that amount of time to do a fashion line, especially with the amount of money that you claim to have. What is the problem? Why is this a thing? Maybe instead of trying to do all these pieces, you should start off with one piece and work your way around it. Like, okay, I can afford to pay the what? Let's say it's $10,000. $10,000 for ownership of these sketches so that I can produce this one item. Do it. You got all this money for everything else. I know you dropped a coin on all those balloons, unless some of that was free press for some of those people. Oh, you're going to be in People magazine and you're going to be on Bravo. So maybe we can cut some corners on this price, because I can see Sheree doing that, because that baby reveal, that costs money. Sheree then talks about how Candy needs to focus on her dirty floors and the shootings in her restaurant. It's too much. Y'all go back to the same, and all y'all do it. Y'all go back to the same stuff over and over and over. Andy says he's keeping the paper. Candy says she's keeping the paper too. At some point, Sheree brings out a bag since... The bag to me was ugly. Brings out a bag since Drew says she didn't receive the bag, and she hands it to Candy to ask Candy open up the bag. Candy's like, nah, ain't nothing about to jump out on me. And she says, no, just open it up. And it's the director's thing, and it says end scene. And I think she was trying to get a big chuckle out of it, but it fell flat to me. Time to talk to Drew about the video. Kenya comments about the music video, saying that it was like a low-budget Beyonce video. It was shade, but to me, it wasn't really that big of a deal. For her to compare you to Beyonce, we all know what the type of money Beyonce has. So, Kenya read you, it was funny shade, that was that. We hear about the movie The Past. Sheree's making comments on the side while Andy's talking about the movie. Like, Sheree, you're really jealous. It really, really shows. And she said that she heard that Drew only got paid $10,000. So Marlo says Drew only got paid $10,000. You only paid her $10,000. And Kandi said, no, we paid her way more than that. And I believe Kandi when she says that they paid way more than that. One, because Candy's the type of person who will present receipts if she can legally get away with it. And two, because Drew was excited about that money. So I don't understand why Sheree has so much heat when it comes to Kandi. Like, why are you so bitter? Nothing that Kandi has said or done at this point matches the energy that Sheree is giving her. Sheree, you seem to have more heat with Kandi than anybody else on the cast right now, and it wasn't done to you. Like, did you tell Marlo that because Marlo is being so calm for right now that you'll pick it up for her and you'll shade Kandi? You'll do all of it? Because I don't quite understand why you're so upset. Other ladies in the cast have talked about you, Sheree. Other ladies in the cast have talked about your fashions. The girl sitting right beside you called them Alibaba Express and all of that, and you don't feel any type of way about that, but you're just going to continue to talk about Kandi. Drew said that comment that Drew made about she's doing Lifetime and Up came up. Now, Drew, you were good in the movie, but you weren't that good. We're not going to sit here and act like what you did was a stellar performance. I'll be honest, some of it to me, even though it was a good movie, was overacting. You did a bit much. Like, your reaction sometimes was a bit much. And I kind of wondered if you were acting, because it seemed like the bit much that we get in the show. We talk about this kissing the girl scene again. Kandi says she knows what she saw when it came to her kissing Toya, and despite the clip that they showed of her saying, well, maybe she was wrong, she was joking around because she knew she wasn't wrong. Kandi was offended by Drew acting like she was using this situation with the kiss as a way to prep her for the movie. She was offended by it. Kandi was pissed. They did a lot of back and forth. And the way that she was responding to her during this back and forth, calling her a lion-ass bee, tells me that Kandi and Drew really not going to be the way that they were at one point, which I don't really know how close they were, but I don't feel like Kandi looks at Drew in the same way. Kandi said that the way you gaslight me is probably the same way you gaslight Ralph. I didn't like that clip when they showed it, but it is true. The only difference is Drew and Ralph gaslight each other. Andy asks Drew how the song is doing. She kind of skips over it and asks Kandi if they're good. And everybody says no. Like, they all know y'all not good. She comes back to it and she says that it's doing well and that it even got picked up by BET, I believe she said, the video. And for some reason, despite all that everybody's witnessed, they want Drew back with Ralph. I don't understand what kind of friends these are. Like, why do women condone the foolishness? You all have seen the way that he gaslights her, Kandi. And you have seen the things that he does. And with that, you want someone that you supposedly care about to be back with that person. Courtney and Monyetta come out on the stage, and my eyes immediately roll because Courtney has become Ralph's mouthpiece. I don't like that Courtney is able to speak as freely as she is. And Drew, honestly, if I were you, I would get a cease and desist against Courtney. At least until this divorce thing, if you truly are going to get divorced from Ralph, happens. Because Courtney is speaking for Ralph. You said it later on. We find out Ralph isn't really Courtney's cousin. She tries to say how they're related, and Andy says that's a weak connection because they're not related. So this friend to the show was presented first as a friend of Sheree, but I forgot all of that because then it was Ralph's cousin-in-law this and cousin-in-law that, and that's my cousin, da, 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 da. Ralph and Courtney, y'all aren't looking good to me. I honestly would not be surprised if what the internet is saying that you seem to have at some point dealt with Ralph, because the way you're going so hard for someone that you've only known for a couple months is insane to me. At some point, Drew pulls out a peach and tosses it towards Courtney because she wants the peach so badly. Marlo stands up and was like, don't throw nothing on my dress. Courtney says, here we go with the props again. Courtney, how do you know about props that Drew might have had in the past unless it's something that you've watched? So once again, you're proving that you're a fan of the show. And if you are, just say it. We find out that Marlo is still with Scott Lee. She hasn't met his kids, but they've done some things. It's not serious if you have not met his kids. It's not at all. If it's serious, at some point, he will introduce you to his children, especially because they're little ones. Now, people tend to be more reluctant when introducing their children to older. Okay, let me make sure I make this clear. I understand that when a child is little, that they cannot speak for themselves and that there are things that may happen that you wouldn't know about because the child cannot speak for themselves. But when you're dealing with teenagers or older children, they're very much so more aware of what is going on. So when I'm making the statement that Scott Lee, if he was really, really serious about Marlo, and if Marlo was really, really serious about Scott Lee, that his children would have been introduced, I'm saying it like in passing. I'm not saying have Marlo around them for long periods of time and all that other stuff. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying at some point, even if it was an introduction through FaceTime, there would have been some type of introduction. I think Scott Lee and Marlo are just having fun. And if that's what it is, that's fine. We find out that her oldest nephew is driving. I'm not talking about the DM situation with Marlo and Kenya because I think it was dumb. Kenya, you made me mad. You made me mad during this because you're making me side with Marlo. I am not okay with you continuing to slut shame Marlo. I'm not a fan of Marlo most of the time, but for you to equate what Kenya may or not Kenya, what Marlo may or may not have had with Roy and anyone else and how they leave money here for her and all that, it's just too much. It's getting old and it's tired. I'm tired of hearing about Marlo's past, and I'm tired of hearing about Marlo supposedly giving services. It's just not a good look. Andy then asks why Roy has not been there as much. And Kenya tries to make it seem like he saw the super trailer and because of Marlo. And Andy's like, well, the trailer didn't come out until after filming was wrapped. And she was like, no, but because, and he's like, but it didn't come out until after filming is wrapped. Kenya, all you had to say was that he's busy working and he doesn't really want to be on camera like that. Which, seeing as to how, even though we've seen him from time to time, at no point has Kenya said that they're serious. So he doesn't need to be on the show. I also would like to say, every man that Kenya has been on the show with is questioned as to whether or not they're truly together. And Kenya has had some trauma from the relationships that she has been in. So, Kenya, you should have said that you're not in a rush to have him film like that because of things that you've been through in the past with men. I need you to get on top of it instead of doing all these antics and being overly dramatic about different things. I need you to call a spade and just say, like, look, I've been through a lot. And because I've been through a lot, I don't want to just push anybody up into this atmosphere. I don't have a problem with him making an appearance here and there, but he's not going to be around for certain things. And you would shut them up. Because you skirt around and you dance so much around the issue, they're able to continue to have ammo against you. A fan wanted to know Marlo's thoughts on the lady's clothing, and Marlo kept it cute. She really could have said some things, but she didn't. And because Marlo said something about Kenya's hair, which I didn't like Kenya's hair either, and something else, Kenya felt a way about it, and she got easily offended. I think that Marlo saw a lot of some of the fans' comments and toned it down for this reunion, because we've seen Marlo go at it with people before and say nasty things, and she really, for this part of the reunion, didn't go low like I know she can. So either she saw the comments, or I'll give credit to the life coach and say that the life coach is really working. They get into the conversation with Courtney about her calling Drew a B. Courtney said that she was imitating a convo, but we saw her admit to Allison that she did call it. You weren't imitating no conversation. When looking back at the stuff, it's obvious you said the B da-da-da-da-da-da. You were talking about Drew, and just own it. Like, 1 minute you didn't, 1 minute you did, then you just said that to get Allison out your face. Like, girl, make up your mind. This is why I can't take Courtney seriously. We then talk about the Birmingham situation and how Marlo slammed the door on Monyetta, and how Sheree and Sonya said it didn't happen, but now we see that it did. And despite seeing that, Sheree was more concerned about being called a hyena, because Monyetta said that they were acting like a bunch of hyenas, and they were. It was too much. Like, you're a grown woman, which goes back to me getting irritated at the beginning of the thing with all the back and forth between Sheree and Kenya and Sheree and Candy. It was team too much. Sheree overtalks people. Like, whenever people want to talk, she cuts in, and people combat her and they try to say stuff, but Sheree keeps going. And Andy, you struggle to regulate it. And I can't. I can't do it. It's too much to me. I like the fact that Monyetta did not apologize for saying that they were acting like a bunch of hyenas, because they were. Thank you, Monyetta, for showing that you're not going to let them, or Sheree, punk you in this case. Candy is asked if she even wants to be a part of the cast, because they make it known once again that Candy had missed out on a lot of things. We find out from Candy that it's not that she doesn't want to be a part of the cast, but that she just had a lot of things going on. Why are y'all acting like y'all don't know this? Unlike what we've seen on this, the other show that Candy did, Candy was actually working. They were actually filming Candy a lot and not cutting out her scenes and all those other things. So we saw what was going on. We saw them practicing. We saw all these things that Bravo has dropped the ball on. Candy made a good amount of the events that we saw on television. She may have missed some. She may have only stayed for a couple of days for some of the stuff. But don't act like Candy didn't show up to anything. Candy is no Kim. Sonya's due on Christmas Day. They do that whole little segment. She doesn't feel like Courtney called her ghetto. We saw you laughing and all that stuff. Courtney did call her ghetto. Andy brings up what's going on in the blogs as far as Kenya and her salon is concerned. And Kenya said that they're right. It isn't complete. But the opening that she did was just a soft opening. So there are times where people have establishments and they open up different parts by section, which is why they call it a soft opening, which is smart, because why not do a soft opening to start having some form of money to come into that building that you're currently already paying a mortgage on, and have some type of revenue come in. I don't blame Kenya for doing a soft opening, but I do find it interesting that this was even brought up, because you all didn't show us a lot about Kenya's salon. So why even mention what's said in the blogs about that? I'm glad Kenya had an answer, and Kenya's answer made complete sense to me. We get back to Courtney and Drew, And she continues to talk and play in Drew's face about what she knows about her and Ralph. Drew brings up that she only knows what Ralph has told her, which, let's be clear, it could be lies, because we've seen Ralph talk in circles trying to explain why he's moved the way he's moved. Look at how he behaved in front of the therapist. You're over there talking to him and you're talking in circles, and he's seeing your manipulation and how you aren't answering the question. So we're going to sit here and act like this isn't a thing. Drew then tells Courtney that if she ever mentions her child again, and Courtney says, or what? Or what? Or what? Drew is better than me, you know. Drew is better than me. Because me did I... If I were in that situation and you are saying, or what, or what, or what to me when I'm talking to you about my child who is of age where his friends can talk about what they may have heard being said on this show from their parents, my child who can come back and look at this and see how you were speaking on the dynamic of myself and his stepfather. I had to tackle her or pop her in her neck. I'm gonna be honest. I'm not promoting violence. Let me give that disclaimer. But I would be, yeah, it would be a problem. It would be a major, major problem. Drew, you're better than me. You're so much better than me. You're so much better than me. I need to work on it because I can't understand how you let that go. I just can't. She said she didn't say anything about Drew's kid, and Andy said yes, you did. That's the basic gist of part 1 of the reunion, which I'm beginning to see why I think they're only doing two parts. Overall, it wasn't like the reunion didn't give anything. It did give something. It just really irritated me, and I want them to revamp this and come up with a better format, because it's really hard to watch as a viewer when you can't even figure out exactly what's going on because people are over talking people, or people aren't being called out on their crap. I don't want Andy to interview the ladies anymore. I want them to bring in a party that doesn't have any stake in it, that can say exactly what they want to say and keep it moving. Let me know your thoughts down below. If there's anything that I didn't talk about or mention, go ahead and mention it in the comment section. I don't have a problem replying. Thank you for watching. Until next time.